boards and commissions. There's an Economic Development Authority webpage, and each of our annual reports can be found there, including this current one. The contents of this report are based on the requirements from Act 57, and essentially it lays out the background of what we do and why we do it. It has the contact information for the staff that support you in this role. And the next section lists all the contracts we have. We, of course, do a great deal of work in each of the districts, especially the East EDA district. We have a lot of ongoing work to essentially beautification or physical character, to create a physical environment that is both inviting for the public, but also that it says that our business community is open for business along the Pickard Road corridor. And so we have our street lights that are maintained. We have our underground irrigation system is maintained, which has been very important this year to keep that grass looking even and healthy. So we have a positive character and appearance for that area. We work with a number of contractors throughout the year. Of course, we have our art breach banners that are up right now, and our flowers, Pleasant Pepper farms that are up. Later in the year, we'll have our holiday decorations. So these are just some of the contractors that help provide those services. The next section of the report essentially lays out a simple statement about funding. We're required to expend the funds that come to us, to make use of them in the district and for the purposes that are authorized by Act 57. As noted there, we are in compliance with Act 57 in terms of making use of those funds. We do also provide a very detailed financial report to the state treasurer every year. And that report has been sent to them, and they do take a look at it. We've actually gotten comments and questions back on that. So they are watching the numbers there as well. The next section is a list of accomplishments. This is just some of the things that we did during 2021. I'd just like to highlight a couple of them. I think the most significant one was updating our development and tax increment financing plans for the East and the West DDA districts, and extending the life of these two DDA districts for 20 years. And with that, in particular with that, I do want to express my appreciation for Isabella County. They were a wonderful partner to work with to get that done. And it allows us to both extend the district so that we can continue to do the work we're doing, but also to expand the East EDA district somewhat so we could target some funds to the industrial area there and also to a residential area that had been previously surrounded by the DDA district on three sides, but was not benefiting from it. So those elements were all incorporated into the updated plans that were approved late in 2021. The other item that's on this list of accomplishments is related to 5800 East Pickard Road. And this one, it was purchase of that lot, which is an existing building on it. More importantly, it was to facilitate the work to update and expand the sewer pump station #1, which is a project that we're looking forward to getting started on. And hold-ups there with regards to equipment availability, but the purchase of this lot allowed us to make that project much easier to accomplish, and it also allowed us to take down a functionally obsolete building and prepare that lot ultimately for future use. So then beyond that, we have a synopsis of other activities. I think one that ought to have been listed under the accomplishments, but it is listed under the broader list of projects, was the work that was done at Jameson Park. Jameson Park, the East EDA district, is a wonderful resource, and the EDA board and the East EDA district provided a substantial amount of funding to the project that is now completed over there, and that resource will be a benefit, even better benefit to the community for many years to come. We're about to see one of those benefits with the upcoming election. The improvements to that building, I think, will be a significant significant in relation to the function of the election process, and also I think that the public would see the work that was accomplished there. We do have some projects in the West EDA that haven't gotten started yet, but did receive funding, and or didn't get started in 2020 and in 2021. That includes the road work on Broomfield and Lincoln that is still moving forward slowly, and of course the sidewalk project that is now under construction along Remus Road. So the beyond, after that list of projects, we have some event promotional campaign information, including the Outreach project and the welcome banners that we take care of every year. And some of our collaboration that we do with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Middle Michigan Development Corporation are noted there. And that brings us to the conclusion and essentially looking forward to this year, to 2022, where we're focused now on implementation of our updated plans. That's really the next item on the agenda. So that's the quick synopsis of the report. I'm happy to answer questions. And obviously, any public comments on that item.
Comments, questions on 4A?
I might make a comment on the idea that the staff and the support that the Township Board and the Road Commission has given our board to help complete some of these projects. And maybe a special little nod to CIB, who did a lot to really get a plan lined up and then help us to implement it and kind of follow us through and guide us in a lot of ways. But they did take a lot of our ideas too and practice, I think. So that's the working document, and I do agree those are high priorities. I'm glad we were able to get to them, and thank you for all your help, Rodney and Sherry and Amy and everybody on the staff for what we accomplished together.
Well spoken, Marty. Couldn't agree with you more.
Thanks, Tom.
Nice report. Thank you. So moving on to the updates to the district plans. What do we have there?
This one, this item really ought to talk about implementation. Obviously, we updated the plans in late 2021. I think we made, for our second informational meeting, I think we'll probably just change that term to refer to implementation of the plan. This is really, as I said, it was mentioned about the CIB planning, which was the consultant that worked with us on updating our east and west district development plans and tax improvement financing plans. One of the tools that they brought to us, which I think was an excellent addition, was this implementation strategies plan that Mr. Figg was mentioning, which is separate from the formal plans that were adopted, that essentially lists of projects to consider and to focus on, and some prioritization of those projects. And that implementation strategies document for each of the districts, those are also on our website, and they are the guide for what we do moving forward. It's certainly what we focused on in terms of what was budgeted for this year, and as we're looking ahead, starting to develop the budget for 2023, we'll be looking at those projects and which ones we'd like to implement. For this year, one of the things that we implemented was the grant programs. You may have seen the article in the Morning Sun a couple weeks ago that got it out to the public. But public businesses have been invited to submit grant applications for work on either signage or site beautification or public pedestrian access. Those are the 3 areas we decided to work on for this year. We'll be looking at expanding that for next year. We have had some interest in those programs. We haven't had any formal applications as yet, but we have had questions coming in. And we're expecting to see some applicants that you'll be able to take a look at and consider. But there's also a lot of interest, a lot of excitement that this program even exists. So I think it has an effect, even for those that don't ultimately apply for it. It can have an effect in terms of being a positive influence in the community. So that was one of the big items for this year that was part of our implementation. As I said, we'll be looking at those strategies as we're working together on developing the budget for next year as well.
Question or comments on that? From the board, from the galley? No?
Pretty quiet over there.
So moving on to 4C, project priorities.
So this is looking ahead, and this I certainly encourage all of you to take a look at those implementation strategies that we have for each of the districts. We are starting the process of developing our 2023 budget at an internal staff level. The process has opened. I've just this past week to start developing a budget for next year. And so looking ahead, we'll be using that implementation strategies document for each district as our guide. There are certainly opportunities. Grant funding, grant element is one of them. Obviously, we have sidewalks we're working on right now. Extending that pedestrian network can be a benefit, and certainly should be considered to extend that further where that's appropriate. We have opportunities in the West EDA to look at other improvements like street lighting or other streetscape type improvements along that corridor. And as I said, from the perspective of working with businesses, perhaps expanding the grants program to other things like facade improvements or other larger types of projects that we could consider. There may be even more opportunities to look at strategic land purchase for economic development purposes. There are some opportunities there that we can consider. That's one of the items that's in our new development plan as an option that wasn't available in the old development plan, but that Act 57 does allow you to do to essentially be a catalyst for economic development through land purchase. Just as we're doing right now on a very small scale, the project you authorized earlier this year for that property in Yats Drive, where in that case it's a neighborhood stabilization purpose, but similarly we can do work in the economic development side if we choose to. So those are the kinds of priorities we'll be considering for next year, and wanting to get your input to give your direction as to what your preferences and priorities are. So I certainly encourage you to take a look at that implementation strategy section and maybe prioritize some of those projects from your perspective, and we can include that on a regular meeting agenda to discuss further.
Yeah, Rod, there was a couple things there's two things. First of all, we discussed when we were working on Jameson Park, an access sidewalk from there out to Pickard. And I don't know where we are on that. And second thing, I imagine one of the things that's going to cost next year is going to be expense, and we probably won't know what it is when the state does their highway job. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of work to replace certain things. And
yes, definitely. Thank you for that. The sidewalk project absolutely can be a fiscal year 2023 item. So I think I have some note on that to include it. So I think we'll see that definitely as part of the proposed budget. The challenge with the state, yes, is that we are going to have a pretty significant expense related to our irrigation system. As we've talked about, the 2023 project to reconstruct East Pickard Road in the township, basically from west of the interchange all the way out, ultimately out to Mission Road, and for us out to Packard Street in the township. They are going to wipe out most, if not all, of our underground irrigation for that, and they're not going to put it back. They are going to facilitate us being able to put it back. I think as we talked last time, MDOT is going to be putting in the pipe, basically PVC pipe, that we can run our system through underneath the driveways and underneath the streets. They are also going to, where they're taking out street lights, when they put them back, they're also going to put pipe in there so that we can run our irrigation line through the foundation of the street light as it currently is. But they're not running the irrigation itself. That is not considered a public utility. They are replacing the street lights. That they consider a public utility. They'll put the street lights back, but they won't put the irrigation back. So yes, that will be a significant expense. Timing-wise, it may be we'll have to look at that. I have not gotten a schedule yet from them. All I have right now is 2023. That's when they're going to be working. They're intending to begin and end in 2023 within the township. But my suspicion is that they're going to take all of 2023 for the construction season and get it done. So it may ultimately be a 2024 expense on the irrigation side. But as I learn more on that, we'll be able to kind of plan that part of the project.
So when they say they're going to facilitate our electrical and irrigation needs, does that mean they're gonna do the engineering design for that too, or?
So what they're doing on the street lights, they're going to remove the street lights and store them, on the north side they will be wiping them out entirely. Foundations, everything is going to be gone. And so on the north side of the road, they're going to put all those back. They'll put back the foundations, exactly what we have. They have the as-built drawings for those. And as I said, they're going to prep the irrigation component. They are going to put back the underground wiring because that will also be destroyed. So that system, they're going to reinstall. Our contractor will likely be ultimately doing the energizing of that and the final tweaks and such, but they're going to put the system back together that they will take out. On the south side of the road, there's going to be some removal of streetlights, but on that side, there's going to be less damage to the foundations. So in more cases where they remove the streetlight to simply protect it, get it out of the way of construction. So that side, we'll be putting them back and setting things up for us. On the irrigation side, as I said, all they're doing is they're going to make it, they're putting in that PVC, I think it's 4-inch, I call it PVC, I can't recall what they call it, but it's equivalent of PVC pipe for your sewer. And they'll be putting those underneath each of the driveways, underneath each of the streets, and they're going to cap it at each end so it stay dry, and the locations will all be set so that our contractors can find it, and then simply uncap it and run our lines through it. That's as far as they're going with what they're returning after the fact for the irrigation.
Are we gonna, for the irrigation, are we gonna retain any of the equipment? Would like Teeland, have them look at it or take it out, or?
That's a great question. So I've talked with the folks at Teal and Turf, and we are going to have them at the end of the season salvage what they think can be salvaged. They are going to be pulling the controllers, and they said they may pull some of the sprinkler heads, the newer sprinkler heads. Much of the system now, of course, has been around for a long time.
Right.
And so they'll pull what can be used, and as I said, they'll pull all the controllers so they have them. But one of the conversations that we're starting to have with TLM is to look at, is there something we should be doing differently? There are newer systems, there are newer controllers that are more water efficient, and so we'll be looking at that as well.
Good.
I'm just half thinking, that's gonna add up. It's like, design wise. Somebody's gonna put the zones, controls, the automation, inspect everything. Should we get bids on it from other companies? I'm seeing the lighting, the sonotube, you're talking a couple $1,000 just to order it and put your light foundations in. Plannings, we're gonna lose a lot of plannings. We wanna reinstall plannings, and then that has to all be in concert with the MDOT plans, correct? So I'm just
Well,
not
they're
seeing
putting the
us.
footings, they're putting the foundations to the lights back.
So the
They're-
lighting
they're-
side, they're taking care of.
They're
They're
taking
paying
care of all
for it.
that.
They're taking
Yeah,
care of
they're
it.
taking
They're
care of
paying
that.
for it.
We don't have to do any, looks like.
When they,
Wiring, everything.
the project included
paid
the
for the stuff originally.
original project included the roundabouts, they actually were going to put in some additional lights. And they had actually gone to the manufacturer of our fixtures to make sure they could get the same ones. And match, so that they would all match the corridor. That part of the project is not going to happen right now, but they are definitely going to be, MDOT is taking care of and paying for the lighting part of it. I disagree. Obviously, the township does have requirements in terms of bids and such, and we'll follow the process for that. We have a contractor right now, so we're working with our contractor in terms of taking care of getting the system, recovering this, what we can of the system we have, we'll look ahead at what we want to do going forward. And my thought would be to work with Teal and Turf in terms of any design changes, but it may be we work with them to have a design that we then would bid out. But that's something, like I said, we'll be talking about in the coming months, especially as MDOT finalizes their plans, and we know for more certainty what damage is going to be done to our system.
Would we be able to get a map of that system when they're done? I'm just hoping they will map it, so, 'cause before we never had one. It was just,
Well, we do have as-built drawings.
We do.
Row Professional Services did as-built drawings of the irrigation system, and MDOT had those. We had a copy. It's not perfect, but it's pretty accurate, especially the kind of trunk line elements of the system. And in fact, MDOT is using that as their guide in terms of where to find things and where to put things back for the conduit under the roads and such, and the driveways. But yes, anything new we do, whatever contractor we end up working with, we're part of the project, we will be asking for as-built drawings and be looking for something that we ultimately can put into our computer mapping software. And one thing to keep in mind, when this project is done, we will essentially have two systems. We'll have the new system that will be about 3/4 of the corridor, and we'll have the original system, basically east of the interchange, that they're not doing anything to. So that part of the system will largely remain in operation next year.
But eventually, will that be affected too?
There's no plans to do work on that side, so
Okay.
at least for the next few years, there's no issue over there.
Not that roundabouts don't affect that area.
The roundabouts will affect a bit of it, but really they're just right in the interchange area.
Not to belabor that, but we got the seating benches and
Yeah.
all that jazz, and we got quite a bit of
Are they
invested in
gonna,
there.
what are they gonna do with the benches?
They are going to remove all of that, and they are going to put back all of that.
Sounds good.
We've taken our inventory, we have a photo inventory of everything that's out there right now. Their intent is to remove it and store it, and put back what was there. There's some groundwork, some brickwork down there as well that was done, some flower beds and things like that. And they are going to be putting back all of those pieces. Where they're unable to put back the original for whatever reason, they will be replacing it. So all that's part of their project.
So it seems like I remember there was a lengthy electric energy contract with consumers on these. When we first put the system in, it was pretty slick, 'cause They never sent us a bill for 12 years.
Yeah.
And then we finally, when we figured it out, it's
Somebody
like,
figured it out.
we're like, Then we had to put together this whole big drawn out, so I just don't forget about that.
Yeah. I have no doubt consumers will find us, we do certainly get a bill from them every month.
How much right of way will the businesses on the north side lose?
In the end, it
Except
won't
the
lose-
utilities, okay,
Yeah,
just
it
the
won't lose
utilities
any.
are gonna get moved back.
Yeah,
but
what's
they're not
happening on the
gonna
north
lose
side is MDOT is going to be doing a construction lane,
So that's only temporary. and then-
temporary lane.
okay.
They want to maintain 3 lanes of traffic, one in each way and a left-hand turn.
But when that's done, it'll go back to but the utilities will be moved back, but, okay,
Yep.
they won't actually in the long term lose frontage.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, by the time they're done, they'll put back what's there now, essentially.
They eliminate any driveways, and if someone has 2 drives, or they eliminate one, they have, generally it's a tendency for them to reduce the number of outlets on state roads.
I think there are some areas where they're working with the individual business owners to try to do that, to consolidate or adjust. It's on a case-by-case basis. In each case, you're working with that individual business owner. Any other questions on our priorities for next year?
This isn't really a question as much as I was having a conversation with a gentleman named Richard Figg. And we were talking along and he realized that I told him we were having an informational meeting today. And he perked up his ears when he heard that there was gonna be public comment. So he asked, do you have to be there? And I said, well, probably not, but you probably should, write something down. So he gave me a short statement that I'd like to read. Is that all right?
Yeah.
It says, he's in reference to Lincoln right here. He said, for the priorities and looking forward for the EDA, he said, I believe we need street lighting on one of our busiest streets in our county. And when Rodney brought up street lighting as part of, I was gonna wait till public comment, but as priority projects, it might even be more appropriate to mention that as part of the forward-looking ideas for the plan that we submitted for the TIF collection, is looking at street lighting and having it be one of our priorities in the areas that are connecting to streets that are already lit. So that's, I just wanted to put that in the record.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. So seeing how kind of jumped onto agenda item number 5, public comment. Let's let the record show Mr. Figg's comment. Moving on to agenda item number 6, director comments.
Don't have anything additional at this point.
Nothing additional. Let's move on to item 7, adjournment. Just want to remind everybody, we got the next informational meeting scheduled for Tuesday, August 16th, 4:30. And that's us back to the regular meeting, correct?
Okay. We're gonna meet at 4:30 at a regular time and then just go into the regular scheduled meeting after that.
That's correct. We'll have the informational meeting first, adjourn that, and then the regular meeting will follow.
Okay. Appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.
Call the meeting adjourned, 5:03.
Sorry, I missed them. I was on. Right here. Mayor.
Educational ones.
Got ready to ground Thursday.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
So I talked to Don and Seal.
Do I look a little more tired?